Welcome to the podcast. I wanted to do a video just because I'm in the mood again. And I'm thinking I just want to talk about. I literally just spoke in the last one about how when you are it's normal to feel a bit shit at different times in the month. That is completely understandable and normal. Especially you can feel self-conscious about it when you're in a relationship, or you just, I don't know, struggle with self-esteem or anything like that. And it's just completely normal. And there's another sense of do you persist in a situation with a friendship or a relationship that there are struggles with? What is the line where you're right, that's it now, this isn't working, sort of thing? And it's interesting because you think about a job, right? I'm sure all of us have been there, job, school, whatever. We've all been there thinking, do you know what? I don't want to go in today. I feel like shit. I don't want to participate today. But I'm just gonna I'm gonna use muscle memory here. I'm gonna turn up, and that's gonna be my day, And I feel like relationships can sometimes be the same. And I think about it now, whatever friendship I've had, sometimes you plan to meet up with them, and in the morning, you may not actually genuinely resonate on this level, but there may be one or two or a few thoughts that come into your head where you think, right, you think about the adjustments you might have to make because of spending time with them. They may not particularly people fit a box, in your life, whether that's a short-term box or a long-term box or a medium-term box, and I do feel like the universe will navigate that and orchestrate that for you in whatever degree. But when you're talking about the day-to-day slog of life, of work, relationships, whatever, it's I feel like there is the due amount of perseverance that you need to put into relationships in general, and I feel like I do this with my friendships, if I'm honest. I just think, obviously, I've known them for so long, I just know how to manage myself, where obviously, if you're getting to know someone, you won't know all of the, no one's perfect at the end of the day. We all have our flaws, and I feel like when you're first getting to know someone, it's how long. I feel like it's a make or break situation, in relationships in general. Things can just break a relationship. Someone could just be no, I'm not necessarily talking about romantic ones either. I'm talking about friendships or any type of one. Even jobs, in the beginning, it is a crucial phase because it's a bit of a make or break. But also, I feel like you can go for a break, but you can kind of come through the other side with stronger communication and better strength within it. And I feel like I've got a really bad history of this situation because I was in a situationship and they were also having a relationship on the side with someone else. As I say, it was a non-exclusive situationship. I knew there was outside relationships going on. That was it was a friends of benefit situation. It was non-exclusive for the vast majority of the time that it was going on. But I'm kind of a bit I've got sort of a bad view on functional relationships at this time because I haven't been in a relationship for about 3 years, a romantic relationship, and also because I've seen firsthand being I wouldn't say the other woman, because at the end of the day I knew them first, but seeing someone actively cheat with me on someone that they were telling someone they were in an exclusive relationship with. So I understand that my wound towards cheating, because I've seen it, even though it didn't happen to me necessarily because I was under the agreement that it was non-exclusive, I've kind of dealt with that because they say that healthy relationships, they trigger a lot of wounds within you, right? And at the beginning, I literally went off. I got so triggered by thinking they were seeing other people or whatever, and they wanted to, they were dating other people, they were sleeping with other people, and I genuinely don't have that belief system anymore because I just don't think it was what was going on. But at the end of the day, your mind can play tricks on you, and I'm not trying to gas up myself. I'm very much aware of, all that side of things. I'm not going to just get into this hysterical womanly mindset. But the fact is, women are hysterical, and I feel like your brain can go on past programming. You can only know what you know, and if you've only seen cheating, of a person, you're going to make that assumption. Those triggers, whether you actively think it, whether there's active evidence of it or not, it's normal to jump to that conclusion. That's human nature. And so with that being said, like when you've been single for 3 years and you get into a new relationship, for example, or you make a new friend or something, and you've been mugged off by a past friend or something like that, I think it's normal for those sort of or those adaptations that you have to make to being on your own, being a roadblock. It's normal for roadblocks to come up. Obstacles are normal. You go to work, you face obstacles. You go about your day, you face obstacles, whatever those are. Like, I don't think things need to be completely smooth sailing in all degrees. Like, it's just not natural process, especially when you're going through that whole process initially of getting to know someone and sort of trying to establish some sort of dynamic. You know, and it's normal to have doubts as well. Again, you have to, I feel like dynamics in relationships are inevitably what they are. The universe ordains that in the first place. You know, you can't change a natural dynamic you have with someone. But at the same time, you know, I've always said you can't control externally what happens to you. You can't, like, control what, you know, your circumstances are from the external. You can change your internal, and you can also realise that the universe brings you a mirror of where you are. So to recognise what wound is coming up within you during that experience. Like, you know, I noticed that some sort of abandonment wounds and some sort of like unworthiness wounds, like not being seen wounds, have already been prevalent for me. So this is why I'm aware that my attachment style is very anxious. I've already had boundaries set with me about being like wanting consistent communication, wanting consistent validation. Like, that is not necessary, like, in relationships. You know, my friends don't give me consistent validation. There is no reason why in a romantic relationship I should get consistent validation. I should be validating myself, and that's healthy. And sometimes you need people to set boundaries with you. And you know, and it's one thing to say, and I'm definitely of the viewpoint that people are a lesson, blessing, or a lifetime, like, you know, but I also think you have to give people the benefit of the doubt when they deserve it. Like, when you can see that there is, I've heard this happen time and time again, when they say, don't put your ex in potential, like, don't put your trust on potential, because, you know, people can show you, but they can like verbalise potential, but there may not be any like weight behind it and stuff like that. And obviously, yeah, but also you can't know until you know if something has got weight to it. And I think you have to give people the benefit of the doubt if you feel that it's the right thing, because, like, I know some of my friendships that I accumulated years and years ago, I would never actually have gravitated towards those people should I not have been in the dynamic I was in. I was so not in the place to have friendships with those type of people. Those people were different than the friendships I was used to. Like, sometimes when you evolve, it's uncomfortable. When you are like growing, it's uncomfortable, and, you know, it is important to take account of your own discomfort and not project that on someone else. Oh, it's their fault that this is bringing up these wounds for me. This is their fault that I'm uncomfortable in this situation. Like, that's not necessary, and it's not fair on the other person as well. It's healthy if someone can set those boundaries with you and create that distance if you're struggling a bit. And obviously we all have a different degree of that, and struggle with different things. And you know, it's the same that goes in a relationship, like, as a dynamic of any kind. And, you know, I definitely think we're all on a process of learning what we will and won't tolerate, and what is, I feel like, just let people show you who they are. Like, don't, like, you can come to educated assumptions, you can give people the benefit of the doubt, but at the end of the day, people can't hide who they are forever. Like, they can come across like a particular kind of person for a while, but at the end of the day, like, you're gonna see who they are eventually. And you have to just protect yourself through that. Like, you have to make those adjustments. And as I say, I'm seeing that there's nothing wrong with saying, like, I've been in like extreme narcissistic relationships in the past where there's been like domestic violence and stuff like that, so I was like completely guarded around narcissists. But I'm very much at the point of like, I know narcissism so well, so I'm like, if I'm literally, like, there's no harm in saying, as long as you're making that healthy distance to protect yourself, I don't believe that anyone should be in narcissistically abusive relationships. But now I'm seeing that, like, there's nothing wrong with saying, right, I believed who this person was, or I got caught up in this, like, whirlwind of what I thought something was. I'm now seeing that I was buying into an illusion. So I can make that distance and sort of be like, right, that was a lesson, moving swiftly on. But also, you have to think, like, what sometimes you can jump to conclusions about people that aren't necessarily, you're not giving them the full credit that they deserve within their entire character. So this is what I mean about giving people the benefit of the doubt. And as well, it's not like, it's like if you're feeling shit one day, you're like not feeling whatever, like it's not like necessarily feel badly about yourself, but you're just like whatever, feeling whatever about your day for whatever reason. There's something to be said for feeling validated, but like at the end of the day, if you're feeling a particular way about yourself, there's no reason to then turn that and project that on someone else in your life that, as I say, is in the green. I feel like people are in the green or they're not in the green, and I think that's a valid measurement on what you expect them to be within your life. Like, I definitely think I'm a very categorical, logical person. I even said to them, I had a conversation, let's use this as an example, right? So yesterday, I know they're going through shit, everyone goes through shit, and I'm always like, show kindness to people, obviously within reason, show kindness to people because you never know what someone else is going through, right? So I felt like I wasn't like sort of sure where they sat, because there's been a couple of ups and downs within the dynamic already. I said to them, I was like, you know, if like I don't see like what, I don't know, I just had a couple of issues, and I was like, you know, if things ain't gonna change, like things can't go on like this, like and I feel like, but I have the tendency to just go off about something small, that's what I mean, and that's one of my things that I have to work on. I will get triggered about something, and it's not like I'm going to get aggressive, but sometimes I might overreact to stuff because of some wounding somewhere or something or another. Maybe it's because I'm a mother and I just feel like I have to protect my boundaries and stuff. So if I feel like things aren't going in the right direction, but I also think it's good to have boundaries, and it's good to know where your standards are as well, because you don't want someone just walking around with no boundaries and you don't know where you sit with them either. So then I sent them this message and I sort of asserted my power, because I feel like it is important to have your power in relationships as well. One person shouldn't hold all the power. And anyway, they rang me up and they were like, no, like, you know, you can come over tomorrow, I do want to spend time with you, like, you know, they gave me that validation that I needed and stuff, and it was a really healthy conversation, because this has happened before where there's been some issue and then there's been like a rupture and then there's been a repair from it, because there's been that communication and you come out better from it. Because I'm like, as long as there's healthy communication, there's two parts. There's being authentic, and there's using your logic and having like sort of know-how in a situation, using your knowledge of how to navigate things. You know, because you can't expect everything to come from baseline like mutuality. You know, there's going to be a sense of, I need to take action here in whatever way that means. I need to use my brain. Do they feel shit this day? Do I need to give them a bit of space? Do I need to talk to them to make, like, you know, to big them up on that day? Do they look like they could do a boost, or they want to know that you're there for them or something? You have to use that sort of initiative as well. Because obviously I don't think like a lot of people are not just going to work from that level of mutuality and reciprocality alone. You have to, there's like this grey area, do you know what I mean, you have to work with. And you know, and that's just the fact. And I always like to break, because I think sometimes my brain can go off on this like overthinking mode, overwhelming mode, whatever, for whatever reason, and sometimes you can just logically come back to the simple fact of that relationships take work. You know, sometimes like different people deal with different things, whether it's me going off on one all of a sudden, even though I usually am pretty calm, or whether it's someone else, you know, having some issue or whatever. As I said before, it's not a crime to have baggage, and it's not a crime to have stuff that you're dealing with, but it's not good to take it out on the other person in a friendship or whatever else, you know. And I think I'm starting to see the importance of setting boundaries with people and having your power, to be honest, because because I sort of spoke to someone recently. I was actually a tarot reader that was just like in the middle of my city centre, and I wasn't even going to ask them about this person, but I literally had nothing else to ask them about. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to say I was seeing this person again. There was like a bit of a like break type thing, and now I'm seeing them again. So what are you seeing? And she said, well, if he's this is what she saw in her obviously psychic abilities or something. She was like, if he's insecure and he's being moody about something, level the fuck up and let him meet you there, like, you know. And I was like, yeah, like he shouldn't have to bring all the positivity to the relationship. Like there's no, you know, like he shouldn't be carrying the entire relationship. I should be on the other side of that. And I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so even since then, because he can go into a mood, and I'm like, you know, I've been the moody one in relationships. Sometimes you do have to sometimes just hold your side of this shit and be like, and as I say, and I said to him, because the thing with me was that I was like, if you're not sure, like I was like categorically, if we're friends with benefits, that's sweet, like, because, you know, emotions aren't involved, it's a basic transactional experience, or we're in a relationship and the emotions are involved and we have to talk about this shit. Like I was just like, I need to make sure, I want to know that I'm not putting my energy into something that's just not going to be worth it. And I'm just, because like there's always this shit come up about building something. And it's like, oh, I don't want to try and build something that's just going to crumble down because there's not anything actually behind it. So they're like, you know, so I obviously get that validation and stuff. As I say, actions speak louder than words, so we'll just see what goes on about that, and this maybe some sort of like karmic interaction that I'm experiencing. But I genuinely believe that you do have to give people benefit of the doubt. You have to sort of, you know, let people have their space and not just like marginalise them to what you currently know at this time. Otherwise you're not seeing them for who they are. That's not okay either, because then you've got the option of, do I just marginalise someone to the degree that I have experienced in the past and just assume they're one certain way when that's actually not the entire of their being, and therefore I'm not only selling myself short, I'm actually being out of line with this other person, because, you know, that's not what they are. So I'm actually just making them out to be something that they're not. But then obviously you don't want to jump to the whole conclusion of, oh, you know, because I think when you've got borderline traits, yeah, and you struggle with rejection and stuff, it's easy to just like project all of your sort of idealisms upon them. So that's also something that I know I do, but it's also like, I know how to sort of manage that to a degree. So like, it's fine for me to do that as long as I'm also taking into account what I'm logically seeing and not letting my mind run away with me. I'm not super worried about my mind running away with me, but I also know what my boundaries are. I know I'm a very patterns-based person. I take account, you know what I mean? If things aren't lining up to what I'm being told, or things aren't lining up to what I've signed up for, like, I've no issue shutting things down. Like, I've had to do it to family members. You know, you have to heal though, and it's like, if I'm not healed, then I've not got the right to project my wounds upon someone else that didn't inflict those wounds. I'm very much a believer of, do not bleed on people that did not cut you. And it's a skill, actually, and, you know, I've done it before. I'm sure. I can't actually think of when I've done it, but I'm definitely a believer of that, you know. And if there's just differences of whatever, like, just learn from it, grow, let it be, but at the same time, don't marginalise people either. I feel like, because I'm just very spiritual, and I'll just go back to God. And I think, and I've said before, and this is when there was a brief separation, I said to God, I said, if they're not being right, if they're not right, take them away. I ain't bothered. I've literally prayed it since. I've said, if this is not like going to be helpful for me, if this isn't like for my best, like, highest experience, just please remove whoever is not in my best, highest experience, because I ain't bothered about trying to force shit that ain't supposed to be aligned here. Like, I am not fighting against this current. And he took them away from brief time, but he's brought them back. Do you know what I mean? Because I do think people come back around sometimes when you've got to learn shit, and you've got to learn. But I don't know, there's a sense of sometimes when there is sort of conflict to resolve and interest in a relationship, because I think sometimes people can be so similar, or they can be so, like, shit can be so easy that there's just no friction there, there's no, like, attraction, because you're just looking for interest elsewhere. So I'm not one to take away from the fact if there's actually interest and there's, you know, stuff to genuinely be interested in within the dynamic, like, that's actually a positive to me, as long as you can manage it and it's not too much. So as I say, it was a bit all over the place, this one, but I feel like I feel better, like I've offloaded, and also I feel like it is beneficial to be self-aware of yourself, which is what I'm learning, actually. And because I definitely need those boundaries set with me, I can't lie. Like, the more I actually reflect on it, the more I'm like, yeah, I was like super like fucked off about my last situationship, and I was just kind of like over it, and I was like, oh well, I wasn't really in the place of hating men. I was just so indifferent to men, and I was just like, especially as a single mother as well, you just I don't know, I was just really out of practice of being in a relationship and that sort of reciprocality, and I just wasn't used to people setting boundaries for me, just literally because I hadn't been in the relationship that long. Like, don't get me wrong, I've been in a relationship for the vast majority of my adult life, but for 3 years I wasn't within it. I was only used to dealing with a child, and I'm noticing, and this is kind of irrelevant, and I'm going to finish the podcast in a minute, but I literally found that a lot of my boundaries were kind of like a parent-child relationship. So I was very much like you do grow as a mother. It's not like when you have a child, there's nothing wrong with that, but you should recognise the difference of someone that you're romantically involved in is not your child. Like, you don't need to like mother them to that degree. It's just a different dynamic. Like, the dynamic I went into it with was I wouldn't say I tried to parent them, but I just think that like I was just used to the mother-child dynamic. Like, I wasn't really used to relationship dynamic. So and I think also being a parent as well, it really gives you less tolerance towards bullshit as well, and I think you can't really change that. I think it's just part of your mind. It's chemical, it's biological, that some of your mind is taken up. It changes, your brain changes when you go through pregnancy, to the point where like I think you lose like frontal lobe space or some shit. Like you change forever when you become a parent, and it definitely makes you less tolerant towards people's bullshit. But I know that people obviously that haven't had kids will see that as, maybe a negative, but it just is the fact of what it is. Like, from what I've seen on people's podcasts and stuff, like sometimes I hear her say stuff about her relationships, and you can see her jumping to conclusions a little bit. You can tell she's just not got the time or the space in her life to tolerate shit where she's not getting what she needs because of the place she's in life. And fair play to her. Yeah, it might seem a little bit out of place, from the outsider's perspective. It might not seem necessary, but at the end of the day, we can all tolerate what we tolerate because of our circumstances as well. So people can either deal with that or they can't. And I've said, I'm happy being single till I die. Like, I'm like, I'll get some cats. I've got a house. I know how to manage myself. I can meet my own needs. I like my own company. I'm an introvert. Do you know what I mean? I'm sweet. So I feel like if you're in a relationship with someone that's got to benefit your experience, not all the time. That's what I said to someone on the phone yesterday, and I said, it doesn't need to be a consistently reciprocal positive interaction. People are allowed to have their negative days. Everyone is a human being. But overall, I didn't say this, but overall, you should be getting beneficial interaction with them for it to be a beneficial experience. Otherwise, you may as well just be single and meet your needs. But you have to think as well, the difference between single and being, obviously when you're in a relationship, you're going to have to make adaptations. You're going to have to potentially sacrifice, not necessarily sacrifice, but the time that you may have spent meeting your own needs will have to go to meeting someone else's needs, and the same goes with the other person, and obviously, you're going to be you're going to be able to yourself meet more of your own needs when you're single, but also there's something different, and sometimes more rewarding, sometimes less rewarding, about doing that with another person. And yeah, that's also worth bearing in mind. I'm not going to ramble on anymore, but yeah, thanks for listening. And relationships are hard, so I hope people talk about this on the internet, because I love listening to this type of content. But yeah, okay, thanks for listening, bye.